So, shalom everybody. Today we are going to talk about culture shock in Israel. My name is Hanania Naftali. This is the Israelity podcast.
And my name is India. So get your hummus, get your pita, and get ready.
Okay, so many people when they come to visit Israel, they think about the biblical sites that they will see, the warm weather, the great food that they will taste, the Israeli food. But I think few people think about the people that they will meet when they come to Israel and the behaviors that they might encounter with. And I think that this is where the culture shock begins. Because while Israelis may look very similar to how Westerners dress and whatnot, there is a slight difference here. So, India, I think that you have been to Israel 2 years. You immigrated from America. So I think that you are filled with stories and examples that you can share with us.
Absolutely. And culture is probably the favorite topic of mine to talk about. I call myself India International. And by the age of 23, I had already lived in 3 very different countries: the United States, Brazil, and now Israel.
And I have to say, you immigrated from a very southern state, Georgia, USA, where people are, I visited Georgia, and I have to say that it's very different than Israel. But, so before we unpack some of your stories, I think, I found a paragraph online that tries to explain the Israeli culture. And let me read this to you and tell me if you agree with this. So Israel contains a collective society in which the group, especially the family, is valued more than the individual itself. Israelis enjoy sharing life with their family and friends and are quick to offer help to those in need. Israelis are generally dedicated to their culture and state. So, do you agree with this? Yes? No?
Well, in regards to the part where you mentioned Israelis are there to help you out, I do have a joke. One time an Israeli told me, if you're driving on the streets, an Israeli might drive you into the ditch, but they'll pull over and try to help you get out of it. And that's how I feel about this country. So many of the situations I'm put in, I feel like someone else drove me into the ditch and I didn't need to be there, but in the end, they helped me get out. For example, one time I was at a clinic, and it was before I spoke Hebrew so much, and I was waiting in line, and I'd been waiting there for an hour. And if you know anything about clinics in Israel, they do move slowly. So this woman, when I'm waiting in line, cuts in front of me. And I want to say, excuse me, I had been waiting because I'd been very frustrated. So I said, excuse me, ma'am, in Hebrew. And she just turns around and snaps on me and starts screaming at me. And I have no idea what she's saying. And I just burst out into tears. And immediately she's like, why are you crying? And everyone in the office stops to look at me and gets really concerned. And I say, look, you were very mean and rude. And she said, I'm so sorry. We Israelis can maybe be mean or rude sometimes, but it's, we just are very direct. And she was nice in the end. She got me some water, and everyone in the office just started handing me cups of water. So Israelis do want to help, but, it's just the idea of she drove me into this ditch. I didn't need to cry. I was already just in a sensitive moment at the doctor, but in the end, they did help me get out of this ditch that they drove me in.
What's up with that water thing? Because you told me previously that whenever drama occurs in Israel and a woman is crying, so everybody's all of a sudden bringing you cups of water. So that's like the medicine in Israel.
Multiple times. Every time someone's upset, I just see people like go fill up cups of water and hand them to people.
Oh my goodness. And before we recorded the podcast, you were telling me about this, that someone cut you in line, and how the, life in Israel has made you more aggressive or determined in a way. So I'd love to, please explain yourself, elaborate on that. How did you, what happened to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So,
did Israel turn you into a monster?
There's only one way to survive in Israel, and it's not through being passive. You have got to play the game. So if someone is cutting you in line, for example, I was at the pharmacy and someone decides to just cut me in line.
Why?
And
Yeah, but why?
just because
And
they
again,
could.
I'm the Israeli asking the questions of like, why?
They clearly see there's a line, and
Oh, they just thought that they might get before
yeah,
you.
they just thought they could walk right up, and I said, "Excuse me, I've been waiting." And this time I said it in Hebrew. I said, "You need to wait in line," and I said it very directly, firmly, and he listened. He was like. He was kind of upset that I had called him out on it, but he went back to the line. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't feel bad anymore. In the US, maybe I would have felt less confrontational, but here I've gotten a lot more confrontational with people just because there's no other way. You'll just be stuck in a line. You'll be stuck with nothing you need done because you're just being too passive.
Yeah, I really have to agree with you on this because if you like when you wait in lines in Israel, you need to be with one eye open, as we say, so that no one will cut you in line. And I have to say that, that same thing also applies to the road in Israel. I don't know about road rage, but, it happened to me several times that I've witnessed it, that let's say there is a huge line of cars waiting to take a turn left at this junction. And there's always this smart Israeli that, drives very slow and waits until there is a green light. And then he cuts you and, cuts basically like 20 cars. And obviously it makes people upset. But what's even more upsetting or even more funny is that if you don't let this driver cut you off, he'll be upset with you. He'll be like, what the heck? I'm just trying to turn left. Why don't you let me cut you? And it's very funny because I've done this, not the cutting thing, but the not letting people cut me, and then they're like giving me this look like, screw you, you don't let me cut you, you let me cut you. And on the other side, like from their angle, if they cut you, the way they'll apologize is just like, raise the hand like, oh, thanks dude for letting me cut you. And the Israelis that were just cut, when you raise, like when these dude that cut them raise the hand, it'll make them feel better. So then they're like, sure, yeah, cut me. So it's a very, I don't know if people understand this story, but whatever. I do have a question to ask you because what is you came to Israel from America. What is the thing that shook you the most when you came here, culture-wise?
I think the way people treat each other. I had never seen anything like it before. Normally in the US, when we have a problem with each other, or even if there is no problem at all, if we just speak to each other in the store, just say, excuse me, just here in Israel, people don't speak to each other with the same kindness. And it's usually, for me, maybe not to you, it's very aggressive the way people speak to each other. It's very, move out of my way. What are you doing here? Why are you existing? It's just very aggressive.
So that shook
behavior.
you.
Yeah, just like, I'm like, I feel like everyone hates me and what am I doing here? But then I learned it's not really against me. It's really about them. It's really just, they were raised hearing people talk this way. This is how they talk. And,
That's what we tell
but
ourselves,
unfortunately, this kind of behavior, this aggressive behavior of demanding and not respecting your neighbor, and has created this kind of even internationally known stereotype of this rude Israeli. For example, I was staying at a hostel in Argentina and there was a Brazilian worker there. And I was talking to him and I asked him, of all the tourists that come here, which tourists are the most difficult to deal with? And he said, don't tell anyone because the owners are Jewish. But the Israeli guests are just the most difficult people that come in here. They are very aggressive towards us. They're very demanding and they don't respect us. And that didn't surprise me, but it was also disappointing because at the end of the day, Israelis aren't terrible people. They just have been grown up. I think maybe you can second this, that Israelis know the way to get things done here in this country, and they think maybe they can copy and paste it and it will work in another country, but it's not like that. Demanding, yelling, using strong language does not work. in other countries for the most part. But here, it does get things done, and it's kind of a survival mode. There's no other choice but to demand what you want and to not take no for an answer.
Well, I'm not sure I like this answer as an Israeli, but you do bring up stuff that to me it's not like I never thought about it because I was born and raised in this reality. But thanks for the answer. I do have another question. So what do you think Israelis can learn from, because we hear you complaining. We hear you complaining. I hope people don't think that you're a Karen, but what do Israelis can learn from Americans culture-wise?
And, everything I say out of love because surely Americans have their own problems.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure Israelis can make a podcast ranting about Americans, but this is not to rant about Israelis. I just think every culture can improve something. And I think Israelis can work on respecting each other. I think respect and honoring each other with their words. And this is practically, this means patience. I'm not going to scream at somebody if they're taking too long in line. I'm not going to use anger as my first response. I think that is a big problem in Israel, is that anger is the first resort. It's not a last resort. It's if something doesn't go my way, I'm immediately going to turn and hit the red button and become angry. I've been yelled at so many times over things that...
And you think it's anger and not impatience?
I think it's both. I think they go hand in hand. I think when people lose patience, they get angry. So, for example, I called a man the other day and he didn't completely understand what I said and he exploded on me and, on the phone.
So how do you respond to that?
At that point, I just, now that I'm strong enough, I said, "Sir, I was trying to give you my business and I am not going to do this." And I hung up. And,
well, nice of you to say, sir.
He did try to say, no, please WhatsApp me. Please message me. I would like to close a deal. No, I'm not going to close a deal with you. You were so mean. But, you don't have to be mean. It's just for Israelis, I would say, take a second and think, is anger the best choice right now? Is there words I can use to express what I want? Because maybe I'm in a rush and, I can say that, hey, excuse me, I'm in a rush. Maybe this could happen now. Maybe I could get this to happen faster instead of threatening and yelling.
Yeah. Now, what do you think Americans can learn from Israelis?
On the other hand, I think Americans actually take no for an answer too quickly. I think Americans are actually, on the other hand, too passive. I didn't realize that until I came here. That so many times I've gotten no for an answer in the US and I just took no for an answer. And here in Israel, when you get no for an answer the first time, you don't accept it. You ask again. If you didn't ask more than once, you didn't ask at all. Like people, standard, they say no. You need to ask more than once. And once you press enough, that door opens. You have to bang on doors for them to open, but then they open. And I think Americans can learn a lot from that. I think we could get a lot more done if we just didn't take no for an answer. And that doesn't mean screaming, yelling, being aggressive, but it means being persistent and being firm. I do love how firm Israelis are. I love that because it's not always rude, but being firm, you can really just cut to the chase and cut a lot of the fluff that maybe people from the West use in their language. It's a lot of protocol and just for the sake of being polite. It's not even like necessary. And at the end of the day, we're like, we don't really need to use all of this fluffy language to get to the point. We just need to get to the point. And I love that about Israel. I do have to say, on one hand, I do love that. As much as I've felt hurt by Israelis who have yelled at me and made me cry on multiple occasions, because it does hurt me. It feels personal. But at this point, it's just become impersonal. And I realize, again, nothing to do with me, nothing to do with you. It's just behavior.
I think that if we look at the American angle, like, the Israeli angle on Americans, I remember my brother traveled to the US. They spent their honeymoon there. And he said that the number one thing that stood out to him culture-wise is that when he sits at a restaurant in America, the waiters and waitresses are acting like they're your best friend, and he saw this as like pretending, not in a way that he appreciated. He was like, why do you need to pretend to be my best friend? Just give me my menu, tell me what the options are, and I'll choose. So I think that resonates with what you said about Israelis, that we're a very straightforward nation, that, you know, being nice is very, you know, very much appreciated also by Israelis. But it's funny because to other Americans, you tell me, maybe they view this as like, oh, the restaurant was so nice, they treated us like, you know, with dignity and respect. And to Israelis, it's like maybe they want the basic, you know, the basic nice and kindness. And more than that, they'll be like, okay, what do they want from me? But, you know, before, you also mentioned that you wouldn't want to compete with an Israeli, because we were talking about, you know, high-tech companies, competition, and, you know, just competition in general in the private sector. And you said that you wouldn't want to compete with an Israeli because Israelis are very much persistent. And
Yes.
if they set a goal, they, like you said, they take no for an answer.
They don't take no for an answer. Israelis are like bulldogs.
You don't say bulldogs to my people. You don't say bulldogs to my people. That's anti-Semitic. No, I'm joking. But I think,
But being a bulldog's a good thing. It means you know what you want. You're not going to let go of it. And I love that about Israelis, that especially if we're going to talk about the startup nation, innovation nation, Israel,
we're not going to talk about it.
we know
I'm kidding.
that Israel is known for this. One, because of the mindset. Israelis aren't afraid to fail in the same way people in the West are. They are go-getters in a way that I haven't seen in any other culture. They immediately look to solve problems and come up with solutions.
Wait, so sorry for cutting you. Time is jumping fast, but I did want to ask you, so did Israel make you aggressive? Are you more aggressive in a bad way, positive way?
I'll be honest, I do feel like in the proper situations, I've learned where aggression is appropriate. There are situations, unfortunately, where aggression is needed. For example, you know, the other day we were driving on the streets and a man hit your car.
Whoa, wait. I have to tell this from my end, because I was the calm one. And again, I'm an Israeli. So basically, we were driving in Tel Aviv, and it was just a game that was over, and all the Israelis, it's like 40,000 Israelis leaving the stadium after one of the bigger games in Israeli soccer, football. And so the road was just chaotic. We were going to take, it was our right to drive, and people came in front of us on our lane. They were using our lane against the law, and obviously there were no police, no authority to make order. So, and we were just about to take the turn, and we saw the cars coming, so we stopped waiting until this line is going to be over, although it felt like it's endless.
And we were blocked in.
Yeah, we were locked in.
Could not move.
People were wanting to take that very turn behind us, so we were blocked in, and we stood there for like 20 minutes, and the car behind us, in this Israeli that was very impatient. You take it from here, because like I didn't see him until you were like, that's it, and you like opened the doors, because I was like, I remember I told you, okay, we're stuck here, I'm gonna open Audible and I'm gonna listen to a book. And you were like watching, like guarding the car, I guess.
Well, this man comes up behind us and he starts screaming, "You need to go now!"
Oh yeah, he
like,
did.
I'm
But
like,
and I think I told him, I'm like, dude, where to go? So he I don't know
he
if you heard
starts
this.
driving up on the curb.
Yeah, but that too. But then he also said, "That's your right. That's your right to go fast. That's your right. They're taking your right." So he was super
Well, yeah, they
upset
were
that-
taking
yeah,
our rights,
Yeah, they were
but-
taking our right. But what are you going to fight like 100 cars that are taking your right? And to bring them to this scene, it was like a short, like not a short, but a tiny street that has only one lane forward and one lane, like, that goes our way. So
So
the Israelis were just taking up the two lanes.
two lanes instead of, it was supposed to be a two-way street, but they
Yeah.
made it a one-way street. Yeah.
Exactly.
So anyways, this guy's screaming to go, you need to go now. And there was absolutely no way. So I'm like,
Yeah.
can this man explain to me how? So I just leap over Hanania to the driver's side out the window. And there's only one way to deal
You
with someone
screamed.
acting
You
crazy.
screamed.
I've learned, you have to deal with crazy with a little bit of crazy. And this is not my nature. And actually, this is the first time I did this. But I screamed back, how? How do you want me to go? Tell me.
Yeah.
Tell me now. And it scared him.
I think your friends back home would have been
They
in
would have
total
been
shock.
shocked. They would have recognized me. I didn't recognize myself in that moment.
But I have to say that it did work. It did work because I told him politely, I said, dude, there is nowhere to go. And also it's funny because in Israel, we always say, bro. Even if it's your enemy, you say, bro. So I told him, bro, where do you want me to go? The cars are almost hitting my car from up
And
front.
by the way, he hit Hanania's car and left a mark. Because he drove up on the curb and tried to bypass Hanania. And in the end, he couldn't. So
he like drove on the curb.
we did try to be polite at first. And when I saw he was acting like a madman, I said no. So by the time that I had screamed back, he was intimidated and he left after hitting Hanania's car. But the point is, yes. And I've had learned to be more aggressive, but I felt in total control of my emotion. I knew exactly what I was doing when I was doing it.
That's the key. You need to control your emotions and to remember that if you're getting angry or aggressive, it's like consider it as putting an act on. And not like, submitting to your emotions. But I have to say, by the way, when we talk about the Israelis, we refer to Israel's population in its entirely be Jews, Muslims, Christians, Druze, and more. India, it feels like this whole podcast, whole episode is making us Israelis look bad. And I'm not okay with it because I'm part of this nation and, you're sliding into it. So, because we're not bad people. That is not, we're not weird. And that's perhaps the situation. So what's your take? Because maybe to the outside world, these behaviors that we're discussing, they may seem too crazy. But I think that this is just in Israel, you can encounter with several intense, dramatic situations. So would you say that we can be drama queens and kings?
Yes. Oh, Israelis love the drama. They bring the drama. So it's a lot of entertainment. You'll never be bored.
It's never boring, yeah.
A day in Israel. So I have to thank you to all the Israelis who have provided me lots of tears and entertainment.
And water, glasses of water.
And glasses of water for when I'm upset. At the end of the day, it's like you love the people around you. Like I love my Israeli brothers and sisters here.
Yeah.
It's like a family. And I think that's because it's such a small country, how families, people yell at their siblings and fight with them. But at the end of the day, there's that love there. I really, really do feel like that's the feeling here. That's what's going on is people are just so comfortable with each other because it is like this one big Jewish family that people feel comfortable behaving this way.
That's a very beautiful way of putting this, that I think we just feel very comfortable with each other, that we are not wearing any masks. We're just behaving and being ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Like a family.
Yeah, like family. Sometimes you hug, sometimes you fight. But at the end of the day, you remember that it's one family. Now it's a section of tips and tricks of being in Israel. It's your section.
This is it. This is where I specialize.
Yeah.
So what can I give a tip on today?
So what would you advise people that want to visit Israel but yet want to avoid unnecessary drama and bad experiences?
I would say I repeat, do not take anything personally. Anything an Israeli might say to you,
like a bus driver closed the door on you the other day.
Yes, that did happen. Smashed me, and then it started driving away while my leg was in the door. And you
struggled to not take it personally.
Oh my gosh, it was. I mean, yeah, because he did see me, but then after like a few seconds, he was like, "Okay, I'll stop." So,
oh my goodness.
At the end of the day, it's not personal. If someone is rude or short with you, it's not personal. at all. Just enjoy your trip. Know that you're having a good time. And just know that someone else's behavior is irrelevant.
I would also add on top of that to remember to be assertive and, like you said, don't take things personally. But kindness does work here. I think that just like every other country, when a taxi driver notices that you're maybe too kind, maybe they'll try to take advantage of you. So I think in Israel, what works is to be assertive and to act like you know what's going on and that you are in control of the situation, even though you have no idea what's going on around you. And questions. Someone asked, is tipping required in Israel when you ate out at a restaurant?
The answer is yes. It is not as much as maybe the US. The US is around 20%, 15, 20 or more, depending on the service. But here it's usually standard 10%, correct?
Yes, I would say so. I think in the US, people love tipping. And in Israel, you tip only the must things. Like, for example, I think you told me that you went to this hairdresser in America and you tip them.
Yeah, you tip hairdressers. Do you not tip hairdressers here?
I don't tip them, and I don't know anyone that tips them. But maybe because my friends are men, so we don't tip for a $15 haircut. So I don't know. Maybe for women, it's because it's a project to deal with the hair. But anyways, that's it. That's it. So thank you so much for listening and for unpacking some of your stories. I'll send you the receipt for this psychological treatment. No, I'm kidding.
Well, thank you, everyone. We hope that, we didn't scare you from Israel, because Israelis are the greatest thing that happened to this world. Just kidding. One of the greatest things, So we hope that you will join us next week. We are still taking questions. We will be answering them, and we hope that you have an awesome day.
Yeah. Until next time. Bye-bye.